What's up, everybody? Big Cheds coming to you live. We are Wednesday, December 5th, 2018. I know it's pretty early in the day. Some of you guys are working, and appreciate you checking out the feed. I just wanted to check in. It's been quite a while since I've done a show, you know, especially on my YouTube channel. So I wanted to
our annual
go ahead and do that. And sorry about that. Anyway, folks, let's just take a look at Bitcoin. I got all that technical stuff out of the way. I am Big Cheds. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. Just as a reminder, I am not an advisor. I am someone who enjoys crypto. I especially enjoy Japanese candlestick analysis. I'm a volume trader. I tend to look at the price on a longer time frame, maybe than you're used to. But if you watch my shows, you should be accustomed to it by now. I also, I definitely enjoy interacting with you guys on Twitter, all the time, as well as in the chat rooms, here on YouTube on these videos and whatnot. And you may know I'm also a founding analyst at Bitcoin Live. It's the best-in-class educational platform for crypto. I'm really proud of that and my body of work there. And if you have questions, we'll go over that a little more later. Let's just jump right in here on Bitcoin on the 12-hour chart. I see everyone in the chat room. What's going on? How you doing? So clearly there's weakness. So the last couple shows I did a public Q&A with Big Jonas. Let's see, last night. Some of you may have caught that. And, I haven't done a YouTube show in almost 2 weeks, just by myself. So clearly, you go 12-hour guys or a daily chart, you can see there's a pattern breakdown. It's a bearish pennant. You can call it just a triangle. It's clearly whatever it was, right? It doesn't matter the name. What matters is it's a bearish continuation pattern. So you want to learn to spot, even if you can't exactly, what is it? Is it a bear flag? Is it some kind of weird triangle? Even if you can't recognize the exact pattern, which you should try to. More importantly, you want to understand the theme of the pattern, right? And it's a bearish continuation pattern. And what I do is I look at these moving averages. So for me, there was a big clue. We have initial rejection here on the EMA 8, this green line here in the daily chart for Bitcoin. And we had kind of continued rejection here. We have a series of spinning tops, kind of an evening star reversal on this high wave spinning top. And we have just some kind of consolidation. It found some support. Found some support at a logical area, right at the middle point of this red candle and this prior resistance. But it eventually, so a couple ways you look at it, right? So if you just look at it that way, where it found support, it broke through, it lost support. So it broke down that way, okay? If you drew the triangle I drew, so it broke both horizontal support and it broke, some type of a diagonal support, as I was saying to you guys earlier. So there's multiple ways you saw there was a breakdown come in, and you have some follow through. Follow through is not overwhelming. This isn't overwhelming sell volume, but we have the oscillators to give us a clue. We have stochastics RSI kind of flashing short-term overbought. And before I got off track, I was talking about the EMA 8, this green line. So you kind of saw this continued rejection. I had been tracking the EMA 8 on the 12, and we had kind of a break here, right? So that was the clue. I was watching here earlier, failed, break, okay, follow through. This is the, looks like an advanced block pattern. I'm going to pull that up. Not textbooked, but it is close enough to like an advanced block pattern. It's a continuation pattern, often bullish, but it really signals a short-term pullback. We saw that pullback, and kind of that's where we are. So as I was saying, EMA 8 on the 12-hour, now it's extending into the daily, where you can see it's kind of clear resistance. And why do I like the EMA 8? It works. You can see a lot of times in these uptrends. Maybe I can find one right now, maybe not. But, kind of in the inverse, when a coin is running or token's running and it keeps pulling back, it will often pull back to this green line while it's in kind of the maximum gear, while it's in its maximum thrust, right, before there's any signs of trouble. Then you start to see it fail a little bit, and then you even pull back to the EMA 34 in reverse. So that's why I like the EMA 8 here. You want EMA 8. I'm watching to see a trend change. So as I was saying before, we have the moving average resistance, exponential moving average resistance. We have the pattern breakdown, both the horizontal and the diagonal breakdown. We're looking for support. Based on the candle body, I'm a Japanese candlestick trader. We have 5 hours left in the daily close. I want to see it candle close. I would want to see it maintain above, hard to see with the price there. Okay. Maintain above 37.27. So where are we now? We're at 37 pretty much. So we can't, that's the lowest close in this pattern here based on the candle bodies, right? Is right here on November 26th. So if that breaks, that would be another break, if I'm a candlestick trader, right? I'd have continued rejection on the EMA 8. I'd have the horizontal break, support break, diagonal support break, and then I have potentially a candle close support break as well, kind of suggesting continuation. And what may happen, you may have a pickup on volume, kind of like we did here, and we had here kind of when it initially breaks down, right? So if that happens, you could see a flush down to the next level. That's something to keep an eye on. My personal target, since we broke that 6K range, and I mistakenly called the bottom, my target has been 29.70, and I'm just going to reset everything and show you why. And then I'll jump right into your chart. Okay. And then I'll jump right into your chart requests from the chat room. I enjoy doing that. All right. Why am I looking at 29.70? So when we broke 6K, okay, I started to look to this area here. I'm going to move auto. Okay. So we have, basically we have the resistance. This is on the weekly chart. We have the resistance from June of 17. We have the resistance from like July as well, and it kind of pulled back. It was support, right, in the middle of September, guys. I'm sure you can see that. You can see there was support there. So that's an area of significance for me. There's a decent amount of volume behind it. We are currently below the lower Bollinger Band here in the weekly chart. So just kind of statistically, you'd think you're going to bounce, but look what's happening. You can see, let's zoom in and show you guys what I'm talking about. So, all right, so let's remove everything again. So check it out. You see, like right here, we're pretty much, look how low below the Bollinger Band we are. So a lot of times what you have is a little bit of a consolidation pattern. Meanwhile, you can see the lower Bollinger Band catching up to the price, and all of a sudden you're not, below the lower Bollinger Band. So you see that a lot of the times. That's how kind of that oscillator will reset itself. Let's say the RSI, which looks like it didn't in this case. How do I move it in? Okay. So you see how the RSI didn't dip below 30, but say it had dipped to like 20 or something, right? Sometimes you'll see kind of a brief recovery from like 20, just you can flush it down lower. And that's kind of what, you want to look for kind of a continuation signal. And that, the Bollinger Band there is potentially giving us a continuation signal is the point that I'm perhaps not eloquently making. We'll go back to auto mode. So you have, obviously, you can spot the tweezer bottom here on the weekly chart, and with a bullish harami. So we have a tweezer with a harami, which is, under normal circumstances, this would be a very strong signal. Kind of the one obvious demerit is you don't have between these two candles, you really want to have the maximum volume, the more volume on the second candle, on the harami candle. And like, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but so it could also be a harami cross, which is like a bullish harami, but when it's a doji. And even though this isn't technically a spinning top and not a doji, because there is a candle body, it's close enough, small enough, conceptually, in my view, you could make that call. But my opinion is these are appearing within a kind of a bearish continuation pattern. So that's my overview on the weekly. My target, as I said, 29.70. Let's jump right into the chat room. I'll say what's up. What's up, Siddhartha, Jeff, Dale, Jeanette, Dan the Man, Clipson Plexterfield. That's an awesome name. If that's your real name, that's awesome. Clipston Plexterfield. That's a really cool name. And let's see. So Nick's asking me why I'm using Bitstamp. I was using the Bitfinex chart, and once ever since there was that issue with Tether where it lost its one-to-one parity, the price has been inflated. and so it doesn't have like a true volume history where it had like a weird spike. I'm just sticking on Bitstamp. I want to minimize variables. I'm trying to minimize noise, and I'm sticking on it for now. That is my opinion there. So go ahead and give me your chart request in the chat room. I see most of you just saying hello and how you doing. But I would like to see. I'm going to do your chart request right now. So go ahead and fire away. I'm going to do XRP. I know someone's going to ask for it. We'll just start out with XRP while you guys get me those chart requests. So let's go to like a 12-hour chart here. XRP, interesting. So XRP looks like it's trying to consolidate. I have on the 12-hour chart here. So let's move this down. The resistance is obvious, this upper candle, but it's not so important. We're looking to find support. The top of the candle from November 6th looks like a logical support area. We see initially the price, see how the price on this this long-legged doji, or arguably a hammer, or arguably a hanging man rather. This long-legged doji was support here. Sorry, dragonfly doji. Support and then support again most recently back at the end of November. So it's holding a very important support area. And the kind of the price it has been trading, you know, just eyeballing it. You can see the price. Let's remove these lines. You can see how it's kind of been trading in like a tight range here. So we might be seeing a break out of that tight range, but we're still watching the volume for a clue. So, I mean, it's probably just more consolidation, but noteworthy, we may be breaking a downtrend. We are kind of on the candle close basis, so that's actually potentially a signal. So I would go ahead and keep an eye on that, but we're seeing kind of a hint we may need to consolidate further on the Vigor Index. We do have RSI double bottom, and this is up channeling. So, yeah, I actually think this is short-term, slightly favorable. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's take a look at XLM from Lewis and I think somebody else. Jeff, let's check out XLM. Good to see you guys. Appreciate you coming. XLM. So the bears are in complete control on XLM. We're on a 12-hour chart. I mean, it's just red candle after red candle. We're starting to get oversold, but it's only stochastics. We're not talking about the RSI. There's some more downside here as well, and we're potentially testing these lower shadows. This prior support area is being tested, and I see no reason why 3,500 or lower is not tested. Kind of the way this is moving, it's not overwhelming sell volume, but it's steady sell volume. So I personally would be looking for not so much that first area. I'd be looking for right around there. 34.76. I'm going to make a note for myself. That's the support area I would be looking potentially. And then from there, we, of course, have our 3,300 support. Let's take a look at NEO for blockchain. Let's take a look at NEO. Let's take a look at NEO. Okay, I'm going to move it up a little bit. So, I mean, it's trying to find support. It looks like it's in a controlled downtrend. And we're seeing some weakness here in the on-balance volume. We do have a little bit of bullish divergence with the RSI. For those of you who watch, you know we have the higher lows in the oscillator versus lower lows in price. But, you know, RSI will do that. RSI always does. Like, we'll do that first. So it's always like a weak signal of... you know, I wait for some more confirmation. You know, even though the stochastics is also bullishly diverging, I really want to see it in the on-balance volume before I get interested. Now, we do technically have a little bit of it in the OBV. So here's what I would do. We have a clearly defined low here. And it looks like we're flirting with that low right at around 1840. So you can, if NEO can hold 1840, it could be setting up for a bounce. But if it breaks that, you know, you have a little bit of pain ahead. Oh, wow. Look at that low. So that was also from December 17th. This is a really important area for NEO to try to hold. That is interesting. So, because you arguably have a descending triangle as well, bearish continuation pattern. So Bulls gotta need to hold here. If you know if you're in it and you have your friends who are bulls, tell them they need to prop it up because you're in trouble. Thoughts on TRX, EOS, Sarah. Let's take a look at TRX. So TRX, just on its face, has some nice bullish consolidation. I actually had an alert for this on Bitcoin Live, and I had my stop loss too tight, and I feel bad about that, but that's okay. I was very conservative. I was any break below 350, and it went to 348. So I triggered my stop loss. I made it too tight. Had a nice little bounce. The volume is not overwhelming, but we're seeing some nice consolidation. So essentially, we have a bull pennant breakout, and the breakout is kind of forming a bull flag. So you kind of, it's just the first level, the first bull break there. You clearly have to break horizontal resistance, and then once you've done that, you have these highs in your upper shadows. But generally, what I'm seeing is a bullish continuation in progress. Let's see what's next. Connor Anderson is asking about ZRX. ZRX. So we have a 12-hour chart. So we have our first green candle on TRX in a few days. And if you discount the doji, this would be our first green candle since December 1st. Now, the volume is underwhelming. Could be just a tiny bit of support being found. Clearly, we have a traffic area, an area of prior consolidation and volume, right at around 99,000, 9,100. Basically, all that mumbo jumbo aside, it needs to find support so it can bounce and then test that resistance. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Bigger picture, let's just go to the daily chart on ZRX. It still looks like bullish consolidation to me on the bigger picture. Clearly, we have a series of higher lows, well-established higher lows, and until they are broken, it's bullish in my view. Clearly, we also have lower highs. You don't have to be a genius to see that. I guess I'm not saying I am, but anybody can see it. I mean, look, you have lower highs. So we're in a period of bullish consolidation. What's going to happen when it reaches its pivot? Nobody knows. But you could very easily bounce around like that, as this pattern gets even tighter. So this is consolidating. This will need some more time. WTC, Dan the Man. Let's take a look at Walton Coin for Dan the Man. Walton Coin right at 3K at 3,000. Oh my God, I can't believe I won. Let's zoom right in. So Walton Coin's clearly been in a downtrend. I'm just going to remove the auto. And, yeah, so it's just pretty weak. Bulls were unable to hold right at that 3,300 level, and you can see how it's turned into resistance. I mean, this is textbook, and it should be. We're talking about volume. So you have your support area that held a support on August 15th. You came back. You had a nice run. You came in here. You did a couple things. Consolidate. Establish support. Okay, bear break, pull down, bear break, and then resistance of exact level resistance. And we're right there again. This is a very key level, 3,300. You have kind of the support turned to resistance. So this is in a bearish continuation pattern. You have the RSI and stochastics with a bearish, hidden bearish divergence. This is suggestive of bearish continuation. Hidden bearish divergence, which is continuation. So you have the higher highs in the oscillators, in both the Vigor and the RSI, and you have the lower high in the price. So WTC looks to be going lower. That is a fact. Let's just check out. Let's see what else we've done. I've done most of these. Let's go ahead and do waves because that has been, whoa, Nelly. That's been on a run. We have the dark cloud cover, but it's on weak volume. So here's what I look at. I usually look at the volume first, but what I was drawn to was just this candle configuration here. And so for those of you who study candlesticks, you can see the dark cloud cover. Now, you don't have the gaps because of crypto, but Nissen talks about this in his candlestick book, in both of them, really. You know, like foreign exchange markets, you know, that don't open and close. Like this qualifies, just like a morning star. So it's dark cloud cover closing below the midpoint of the prior green candle. What other clues do we have? Now, we do have both of these have pretty reasonable upper shadows. That's called profit taking, and that's the bears rejecting higher prices. And then we have this third candle we're working on right now. It's a kind of a goofy candle. Even with it, it's not, even though it's not a shaven bottom or, you know, with no lower wick, it's still, you know, functionally for me would be a shooting star. And even if it's not a shooting star, you can be the, a 3 inside down, you know, forming as well. But the volume on the sell-off is not impressive. So all that mumbo jumbo aside, it's basically we have a bearish reversal candlestick with weak volume behind it. You know, given the amount of volume that was in this accelerated push, I mean, there's just not a ton of volume on the sell-off. That's what's interesting to me. So, you know, I really would want to go in a little bit further here on the 4-hour. Okay, we know where support is. So pretty straightforward, which would make sense. You know, this consolidation area in between these two candles. Boom. All right. So if this level breaks down, you know, I'd be looking at taking some more profit off the table potentially. But you might be able to form a bounce here. Because look, what did I say before, guys? EMA 8, there it is. The green line right on a push. It's exactly evident there. And we're rallying at the EMA 8. You know, is this where the bulls can push back? You know, in the hourly chart, now we look at the volume a little closer. Okay. So a little mixed buying and selling. Decent amount of selling on this candle. Pushed higher on, so the bulls haven't overwhelmed either, but it's kind of an even match right now. And really the top of this candle is the resistance you'll have to watch. Everything is within that range right now. The top of the candle at 59.65. I'm just going to quickly take a look at LTC and Ethereum and the Bitcoin pretenders, Cash and SV. Let's remove this mark on Bitcoin, on Litecoin rather. So here on the 4, I'll go stick at 4-hour chart. Maybe I'll go 12. Yeah, okay. So clearly, I mean, you know, you were potentially making an argument for a head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders. You know, that's breaking down. We're testing the head right now, if that was the case. What I'm watching now is candle closes, and you guys heard me talking about that earlier. So the candle close here, 28.59. That's our lowest candle close. So our lower shadow touched that level. We haven't closed below it. So I would be watching for a breakdown here. You know, if we break below that candle, do we have any clues that we might get there? Sell-off volume is okay. We're getting oversold here. Some RSI support. Looks like the Vigor Index wants to bounce. So, you know, it would make sense based on what I'm seeing. It would make sense to flatten out a little bit, at least for the next 12 hours, perhaps put in a spinning top, which would suggest indecision. You know, if you think about how a trend changes, it doesn't change, you know, from green to red. You green to yellow to red. You have these transition phases, downtrend, sideways, uptrend, right? It's foundational. You got to always kind of think about it that way. So let's say that was the case. Let's say we put in a spinning top like this prior candle here. Now you have 2 spinning tops out of the last 3. You know, you're at the support area. Potentially you're remaining your candle close above that low I talked about. Yep, the low I talked about, 28.59. So just kind of something to, you know, food for thought, guys, to kind of, and, you know, this is what I love to do. I record a watch list for Bitcoin Live, and I go through every play on my watch list, and you get to hear, you know, hear my thinking. Because I want to teach. I'm all about teaching someone to fish. You know, I don't want to hand them a fish. I've just had a lot of fun throughout the years working with you guys. So let's check out Ethereum here before I ramble on. We're at $100. Clearly, an important support area at $100 is coming up. I have a line drawn out from the video I did last night with my good buddy Big Jonas. And we are at support right now. Yusuf, I'll do XVG after this. So we're at an important support area. So our lowest candle close is our lowest candle close so far at the 101.66. We're right there with 4 hours left. So Ethereum is setting up potentially for a bear break. I saw Crypto Rand had a nice tweet where he showed a bear break was incoming. And, you know, because we see essentially a series of similar bearish continuation patterns, even like a cup and handle continuation. So we're seeing, or even tower bottoms and higher time frames. We have multiple tower bottoms. Tower bottom right here, tower bottom. So you kind of have multiple continuation patterns. Normally this would be a reversal pattern, a tower bottom, but you kind of were unable, there's, you know, upper shadows, unable to push through, and both occasions, you know, turned back down. So what is notable clearly is the volume on this most recent candle here on the 12-hour chart. So we're seeing an accelerating bear volume. You always want to be paying attention to the trend. What's the volume doing? You know, because you can look for like some type of a signal and momentum. Like what is the power? What is the force behind it? What's the momentum? And increasing volumes. So just in this moment, you see an increasing bear volume. Bulls are going to have to defend here pretty shortly, I think. Let's take a look at XVG. Let's take a look at XVG. Pretty weak, losing support, unable to maintain higher lows, likely to head lower, and I think in the short term, like that 150 level would be my guess. I think, you know, you got your lower highs and you're violating your lows, like right here especially. You have a recent bear break. I'm not saying it's going to happen all at once. You can see there's not a ton of volume. So what is notable is this volume cluster here. So where was it? So there was a lot of volume on this candle. There's a decent amount of volume up here. So like short-term people are underwater. Be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's go ahead. There'll be a perfect segue into the pretender coins, BCH, ABC. Let's go. Let's take a look here. We're on the 4 hour. Let's go like 1 hour for a little more context, just because it's newer here on, I think I actually have it. Let's go to this way. So Binance. So it's pretty weak, obviously. In this case, it's not the EMA8 that is rejecting the price. It's the MA20, which is the middle Bollinger Band. We're seeing multiple resistance and rejection areas. And, you know, kind of in the volume profile, we're seeing we have to give the edge to the bears. And that's obviously reflected in the on-balance volume. Obviously, you know, you do have your RSI oversold. But there's no divergence yet. You know, normally with this type of a drawdown, the RSI, you'd have some type of a divergence already, which is notable that it's not there. So I'd say this just looks very weak. Very, very weak is my opinion on that. SV looks better. Certainly looks better because we have support. But we are breaking. We just broke a very important level. So this served as support twice. We have support back from that November, end of November, and it was support again here just a few days ago, and again, and again. Now we broke below it, and notably, we were able to break back above it. So normally this would be an important resistance, but it looks like we didn't have any trouble with it. So that is interesting. But despite all that mumbling, you need to, I'm going to remove everything else. You have to maintain higher lows. So here's your current low right here. So you just watch that low. You know, it's probably going to break down just because it's not as bearish, not as bearish as the other one, but it's still bearish. You know, let's just circle right back here to Bitcoin. And so we've talked about Bitcoin. We've talked about my weekly target, you know, 2970. Talked about why, because it was resistance and it was support. And given the proximity to the lower Bollinger Band, and we're starting to build a volume cluster here. So if you've noted on the weekly chart, I didn't talk about this earlier. You had the declining volume trend. and you have a trend change here. So this is different than all this. Okay, let me do that again, so you're not like, what's he talking about? This right here. Okay, these last 4 weeks. Okay, we're essentially in a new trend from when we were here, just based on the volume. Like that suggests there's a change of gears in some way or another. All right, so you should keep an eye on that. I want to just thank everyone for joining, and I'll remind you I'm one of 6 teachers and analysts at Bitcoin Live. We also have several featured contributors, including my good friend Big Jonas, who does a great job. We put together unique educational content. We're trying to give you many different ways to learn these topics from really experienced teachers who care about putting forth a good body of work. You can see our webinars on YouTube. And you can definitely, if you have any questions, check, ask me out, ask me out, ask me any questions if you have them. Send me your questions, of course. Like I talked about before, I really enjoy teaching people how to fish. So, I do those watch list scans. I like to put out alerts, really timely alerts when I think it's a good setup, with a good target, and psychology articles and candlestick education. So it's just, I'm really proud of that as well. We've recently added the monthly option and a quarterly option if you want to try out Bitcoin Live before committing for a full year, which is the best value. Really glad you guys came. I hope you Basil says, hey baby, you here often. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll take care, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Big Cheds out.